Hello, everybody. Welcome back to House of Horrors. It's been a second. And we're here with Jenna Stoeber. Hey.
Hi. Hey, everybody. Hey, chat.
Hey, chat. So, as usual, we'll be here chatting, but you're free to post your questions in chat. Post them twice if I miss them. And I'll try to get to everyone's the most interesting questions at least. So, here we have Jenna. Jenna is a fantastic video producer from which I learned about you on Polygon, but you also have your own like streams and videos and stuff. But she's been making great gaming content for Polygon for a good while now, and so you guys might recognize her from that. But you should also check out her streams and everything. I'll be posting links in chat from time to time, so everyone go follow Jenna. How you doing, Jenna?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
How's your evening?
Oh yeah, late evening. You can see that the window there. Yeah, I'm a night streamer. I'm a big night owl, so.
Yeah, well, that tracks. That's appropriately spooky.
It's true. It's true. All the spooky stuff happens at the late hours, right? So you gotta be there.
Exactly.
It's also good for American audiences, which is why even though I'm in Spain, I have a very American audience because I tend to do everything at basically an American time zone. Yeah, it's good. It's good to set up calls with you guys out there across the pond. So yeah, everyone go follow Jenna and on Polygon and by herself because great stuff. I also link to Polygon. If you guys don't know Polygon, they do great gaming content online. We love that.
Yeah, new video out, a Pat video.
Yeah, there's a new video out today.
Market.
Very good. Very good. Oh my god. I assume you've been playing Elden Ring?
Oh yeah.
I assume everybody's been playing Elden Ring.
Yeah, a ton. So much. I was playing it almost immediately before coming onto this call. I was helping one of my other friends run some Volcano Manor.
Oh, I'm still pretty slow at playing because I like to explore every little nook and cranny. I'm still at Liurnia. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh yeah, Liurnia maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But obviously for chat, we're not going to spoil anything if you guys are still getting through the game. But oh my god, the monster designs! I've been running through Kaled, the spooky area, for just like looking at stuff, not even engaging enemies because they're very scary. It's like, oh, that's a very scary crow. Let's run.
Oh my god, yeah, the birds. I love the birds design. So freaky.
Yeah.
So leggy. I love also like the insectoid creatures sort of in the Kaled area.
Yeah, I've just been there to the with the huge ants and then huge like an enormous mantis thing like from this in the ceiling completely destroying you. Yeah.
The antlion.
Yeah, so good. They have some of the best creature design out there.
Truly such a variety. Also, I'm really genuinely impressed at like I mean a lot of them are familiar from other Dark Souls games, but I still think that they've really mixed up the different variety. Like I love the tree guardians, the small elder Erd tree guardians. I almost said elder tree. That's something different. The Erd tree guardians with they're like wooden, but they have like this kind of open chest cavity and like this almost skirt-like bottom. I think they're just really beautiful.
Yeah, there are so many like they have trees growing on them, right? They're made of tree, I guess.
I think they're made of tree. Yeah,
they're like bark creatures. Yeah, they're as usual. It's a masterclass in creature design. These guys.
They're so cool. I love how many creatures just don't seem to have guts. Like they have like they've got a torso and they've got a place where their guts should be, but the guts are not there.
You don't need guts. You don't need guts. You can feed yourself on,
I
whatever
mean,
magic is your.
it's true that they don't seem to need them. So, like,
Yeah,
it's just excess weight,
exactly. It makes you slow roll.
Exactly. If only I could get rid of my guts, I could wear some cooler headwear.
And keep the
It's
fast
not an
roll. It's very
option.
important.
I love the fast roll. I don't know. What can I say?
I've really been enjoying the variety in areas, especially like Kaled. It's so good. I was like, at first I was in this typical medieval fantasy setting, and suddenly I open a chest and I get transported to some mine. That's very scary because everything's killing you out there. I
It's
leave the
bad.
mine and I'm literally in hell. This is early game, by the way. I assume a lot of people have come across that specific chest, the trap chest, and you're literally in hell. That's such a good scene.
It's so good. It's so funny. Like, just the fact that it was a trapped chest in general is just like, it's
Yeah,
pure. It's so FromSoft. It's such a
Mhm.
FromSoft thing to do, and I love it so
Absolutely.
much. And then it just drops you into this miserable Hollow Knight-esque bug and crystal cavern where everything's very strong. It's so much stronger than you
Yeah,
are at
yeah,
that point. Oh, it's so funny, and it's so miserable. I have
it's
not
actually.
circled back to that area. I found that trap chest the first time I played through, and I
Mm.
have just not circled back there because I'm intimidated.
Yeah, well, I assume with a bit more levels, you probably can get through it pretty like much
Yeah,
easier at least.
I'm in my 80s now. I should circle back, punch some
Yeah, oh
bugs.
yeah. In your 80s, you're definitely getting there.
Yeah. But yeah, I also love a thing I love about Elden Ring is just how like at the very beginning of the game in the first level, first kind of opening area, it's all very classic fantasy stuff.
Mm.
There's a dragon, there's a giant, there's knights with shields. And then like the further you crawl into the game, the more weird shit you find. And I just
Yeah.
so funny that FromSoft was like, new people are going to be playing this game. We can't let them know how freaky we are. So we're just going to
We're gonna
sink
ease
it.
them into it.
Exactly.
I love
Like,
that.
so funny. Here's some wolves. Don't worry about it. But then like this, yeah, like the weird ant monster in the caves and like, ugh. The hands. We can't.
The
I can't. We can't.
hands. Oh
It's
my
just
god,
incredible.
yeah. Just like the weird finger themes is all across the game. All the
So
messed
many
up hands that
arms.
you find. Yeah.
Yeah, weird hands, weird arms, too many fingers. Everybody's got too many fingers.
Too many fingers. You don't need
Too
that many
many.
fingers.
What are they using them for? To
holding
murder
big
me mostly.
holding big swords is
Yeah,
for the most
yeah.
part.
Not for good reasons. What kind of character are you playing in Elden Ring?
Oh, I'm a Dex magic build. I got
Ooh,
that like that
what magic?
magic katana
Oh, yeah,
and just a lot of spells for when I'm scared. I don't want to get close to
that's
things.
nice. Yeah, no, the spells are nice. I'm glad I dipped into getting some magic in this
Yeah.
run.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely viable. Much more viable than other Souls games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I say that. I never played Magic in any of the other Souls games, and playing it now in Elden Ring, I'm like, "Why not? Why not? This is great." Having
Yeah.
range,
Yeah.
it's
It's
nice.
with all the scary enemies around, like the best option is often just getting on your horse, staying at a safe distance, and throwing a lot of little spells at them until you whittle them down.
Yeah, or doing running swings with my big old sword. Beautiful.
Mechtel is asking if you're still doing blood loss type.
I am. I was actually last night, I was playing around with it. So the sword I'm using is a Serpent God's sacrificial sword. It looks like a snake head, and then
Mm.
it's like the back of the head has like a fin on it, and that's the actual blade.
Ooh.
And it it does healing damage whenever I kill an enemy, so I love that just for me. And I found I'm using an Ash of War that gives me blood loss,
Oh,
and it's
yes.
really nice. Last night I was sort of playing around with some other options, like trying out Holy and trying out an ice Ash of War, but I really just like I really just like blood loss. It's just satisfying.
It is. It is. Suddenly taking a chunk of health from a boss.
It's great.
It's
It's
so
great, and
good.
it matches my playstyle nicely. I really like to get in close and do a bunch of little hits and then back off.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I like that as well.
mm, it's so
I had a
satisfying.
lot of trouble at first. Like the first bosses, everyone's complaining about Margit.
Margit,
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone's complaining about him. Obviously, like I mean, for me as well, it was very hard. Even after I came back after having a few upgrades, it was still quite hard. But yeah, early game completely destroyed me, and then I got some actual like I started upgrading my weapons a ton, and now it's starting like at the point I am right now. I assume it'll go back to destroy me shortly, but
Ah.
I am at that point where you're confident. You're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, I've been meaning to circle back. I never did defeat that tree sentinel that you meet immediately upon leaving the tutorial area, the guy
Oh,
on horseback.
oh, you'll absolutely destroy the guy right
I'll
now. Yeah.
crush him. That's what I want. That's what I want for me, but I have to, like, go back and do it now. I just, like, I've gotta remember.
Yeah.
There's just so much. There's
There's
just
so
so
much,
much.
so much. Yeah, Nika in chat asked if Elden Ring is good for people who haven't played FromSoft games before. I would say so, because you have really hard bosses at first, but you can take it in your own, like at your own pace, and you can just go back and keep exploring a bunch of areas, keep leveling a bunch, and then go back to the boss that was hard, which is much harder in the more linear games because you're just like grinding the same zone over and over instead of having like more stuff to explore. So it's way more fun to kind of like grind out a few levels in that game, I would say.
Yeah, I think if you are at all interested in From Software's whole deal,
Hmm.
like their whole like approach to like if you've heard about FromSoft and you're interested, I really do think Elden Ring is the best place to start.
Yeah.
For like exactly what you're saying is like if you're playing a Dark Souls a game or like Bloodborne or Demon Souls, like you really just have to keep pressing your face against the grating of a boss until you push through, and
Hmm.
it can be really unpleasant.
Yeah,
But,
it
like,
gets really
it's
frustrating.
yeah, and the only way I ever really solved that with the Souls games is just, like, putting down the controller, walking away, coming back a couple days later when
Yeah.
I'm less exhausted or frustrated, but in Elden Ring, you can just, like, wander off. Like, you basically don't have to fight almost any of the monsters.
Yeah,
Like,
there's very
you can opt
few
into the stuff.
mandatory bosses.
Yeah. Margit is mandatory and he is horrible, so you'll have to
Oh,
get over
yeah,
that, but
yeah. Yeah, he's also
but I
like
also
it's specifically made to mess with people who have played Souls games before. Pat did a video today. If you guys haven't seen
yeah.
it on the Polygon channel, the last video is all about that. I just watched it and I was like, I didn't even realize how complicated how complicated his moveset was. I didn't get to the point where you learn his whole moveset because it just kept changing. It didn't have like super specific combos. And what Pat noted is that he actually keeps adapting to how you move. Like if you roll into him as he's doing an attack, he'll change his attack and do something different than if you roll out. Like that's evil. That's messed up.
It's pretty advanced AI. So,
It's
like,
very
it's really
advanced.
from a game production, it's, like, really impressive, but from, like, a player angle, it's like, "You assholes." Because it's like it's probably the first boss you're gonna meet other than Tree Sentinel, although I think
Hmm.
most people bail instead of fighting that.
Some
So he's
people
like the
have
first
keep bumping their heads against Tree Sentinel at first, like thinking they
That's
have
a
to beat him in
mistake.
some way. Who said in chat
Yeah.
before, I watched a streamer just keep trying with the Tree Sentinel at level 1. Took him 87 consecutive tries. Like
That's actually incredible that he was able to do it at all.
yeah. I got
But
it
I think
really early,
yeah.
kind of as a challenge. Like shortly after I got I think it was a twin blade, which is one of my main weapons, and the horse.
Cool one.
I was like, I'm gonna go to the Twin Sentinel, and I took like slivers of life away, but I found like a good rhythm where you're circling around him with the horse, and you're just like hitting and evading and hitting, and I ended up getting him after like maybe a 10-minute just grueling fight. It was.
I mean that's the beautiful thing about Elden Ring. That is also just not true about earlier games. Is that like you can do that. Like if you want to go and fight Tree Sentinel when you're super underpowered and underleveled, you can just do that. And if you don't want to, if you want to forget about it for 80 levels like this person, and then circle back and make him cry mama, then you can also do that. And again, like that's neither of those directions was possible for other Souls games.
Yeah.
I will say if you've never played a FromSoft game before and Elden Ring is your first, I do recommend like looking up any article or video, whichever you prefer, about like things you should know before going into Elden Ring.
There are so many obscure things that they never tell you about. Like there is a third flask that I found literally like a dungeon into, like I have finished the first dungeon completely, and then they told me, oh, if you just take this little detour into this other area, you can find a third flask that can actually make you stronger and heal you. And it's like, what?
Yeah. And also just like basic stuff, like people have rightfully, I think, complained about Dark Souls' UI.
Yeah.
Because it's stark and it has a lot of information, and the information is not well organized, and it doesn't really tell you a lot of stuff. And I think for friends I've had that that this is their first FromSoft game, a lot of them have had confusions about like weapon scaling and what that is and how you do that, or like how to tell what the Ash of War's powers are, because you have to click through to a second screen to find that information. So it like just if this is your first FromSoft game, look up some articles.
Google
It'll
everything.
Be worth it, I promise.
Yeah. I think Souls games, there's no shame in Googling a bunch of stuff or going through an area and just looking it up real quick on the wiki, see if you missed any strange secrets, because and people will troll you all the time. So with illusory walls, which are very little of in this game. I at first I was like rolling against every suspicious wall, or every time I saw a message. At some point I just started ignoring everyone unless it was like very, very clear.
Yeah, you can just look up lists of illusionary walls because there's not a lot of them in Elden Ring. But the thing is that the game's giant and people are still finding stuff. So like,
oh, did you see that one where there was an illusory wall you had to hit like hundreds of times to?
Yeah.
That messed me up. I was like, now I gotta hit every wall. Every time I see a message saying secret ahead, I have to hit a wall 100 times.
Funny. I would bet money that is a bug and not. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility of what FromSoft would do, because it is very funny.
Yeah.
But it's also like unlikely. Like people will do a lot of things in these games, and somebody did find it, so like maybe.
Yeah, I assume someone said, and it sounded really plausible to me. Someone said that it used to be an illusory wall, and instead of removing it, like they did away with it, and instead of removing it, they just increased its life a lot so people wouldn't find it. And someone did hit it enough that they found it. I assume that seems plausible, of course. I can't.
Yeah, and to make things worse, I think that was in, if I remember correctly, that is in the Volcano Manor. And the Volcano Manor does have like some secrets there. So like it makes sense that it could be an illusory wall, but it also makes sense that it used to be a illusory wall. And FromSoft was like, just make it difficult to hit. Nobody will hit it 100 times.
And they did.
Of course they did. Of course they did. FromSoft game fans are insane.
Who thought of hitting a specific wall 100 times?
Well, I mean, so there's like a specific group that one of the big like YouTubers that does lore for Dark Souls has a specific group message. So like the I don't know if you've played around with like multiplayer in Elden Ring,
Yeah, I have with some friends. We have a group, so you see
the
their
group password.
messages. Yeah, a group
Yeah.
password.
So there's one that's like a public group password.
Mm.
It's called like the Secret Keepers or the Secret Finders, actually, I think is what it is. But it's just a group of people that are like, we are just flinging ourselves off cliffs. We're ramming ourselves into walls. We're just exploring this game as much as possible. So if you want to be a part of it, you put in that group password, and
Oh.
then like you're a part of this group who's leaving messages for each other and like trying to like basically fill out the wiki for Elden
Mm.
Ring with all of the secrets that they can find. I think that's so cool.
That's cool that people organize to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
because
that's neat.
multiplayer, I don't really engage usually in multiplayer in Souls games because people are like, I tried to invade someone the other day, and they literally just one hit me. I don't know if
Oh, no.
they. I don't know if they match you. They try to match you with people of your level, or that guy was either over leveled and they just matched me with someone random, and I happened to get someone that could one hit me, or just had some just insane strats because he hit me with a super like a special attack that had a million range and did blood loss, and I was like, yeah, you just killed me. You got it. That's fair.
Oh god.
And then
That's
I
pretty
never
funny.
invaded anyone again.
Yeah, I don't think I've invaded a single person outside of the like NPC invasions that you can do in the
Yeah,
game. I really haven't messed with it. The
it's
game already
scary.
has so much. Like I
People
don't
are
need more
scarier
game.
than those monsters, than the
Yeah.
big boss monsters. Because the boss monsters, they don't judge you.
They're not gonna post video. Godric isn't gonna post video of messing me up on
Oh my god.
YouTube or something.
I'm gonna specifically shame this person.
Yeah, Margaret isn't gonna TikTok them one hitting me, this
Oh my
giant
god.
staff or something. Ugh,
Yeah,
it's a good game.
it's like hard to approach for me, the multiplayer, but I do like the messages and stuff. There's a lot of trolls, but there's also like a lot of levity, like people just you know, putting a million messages saying dog in front of whatever animal, like turtles mostly.
Yeah. I like the comments that are like, "Beautiful view ahead. Check out
Yeah.
this view." Those are my
And they
favorite.
just
I
pose
always
like
up
sitting
those.
down, like relaxing, and it's like it's nice. It makes you look up at the view and you're like, oh, that's true. That's actually very nice.
Yeah, I like the reminder to just be like, "Look at how beautiful this world that they've made for us
It's
is. It's
amazing.
just so
It's one of
gorgeous."
the prettiest open world games I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not even like you'll have your Breath of the Wilds, which are very pretty and have their unique art style as well. But there's going to be a lot of like big mountains you see in the distance, and then you try to scale them, and it's mostly barren. There's going to be some stuff, but it's very hard to find like entirely barren and empty places. There's always a little
Yeah.
secret. There's always, or even like a message someone left just saying like, I got here, and other people who upvoted it like, I also got to this place that we weren't supposed to get to by double jumping on some just tiny polygons.
It's so good. The community's so good. The game's so good. I love it. I just crossed over 100 hours played.
Oh, I didn't even check how many hours. I don't know if I
Ooh,
want to.
and I'm
No, it
still, like,
definitely less,
barely into
but
the game. It feels like I'm barely halfway
yeah.
through even.
Hmm.
Ridiculous.
Well, someone asked in chat, Jedi asks, if Jenna was a boss in a Souls game, what would be her name and attack?
Ooh, this is
What kind of
fun.
boss would you be?
Oh god, okay, so if this was a Dark Souls game, I would have some sort of horrible tragic backstory, so I would have been like, "Yeah, this is hard." You have to think of yours too. I wanna know what yours would be
Mm,
too.
mm.
Let's workshop this. Okay.
So I'm some
Um,
guy that's an NPC at first and is like just kind of creepy, and that has like that FromSoft creepy laugh. And you're like, this guy's definitely evil. Like this guy is obviously evil. At some point, I turn at you, turn on you, and like invade you. Um, and you're like, of course.
Of
I
course,
got
this
like a
guy with the
weird build,
easy,
like a
beautiful
weird
laugh.
magic build, and you take like maybe you take 1 or 2 tries to figure it out, but it's not too hard. It's just like, okay, this was a fun little story.
That's pretty good. I feel like my special attack, I would have one of those special attacks that you get in this game where it's like 5 really fast moves in a row that just keep interrupting your move so that you just get so annoyed. I think I would be an annoying boss in this game.
Well,
I
you
think
keep
that's what I
rolling
would do.
away, and you're like, the combo is still going, and I'm running out of stamina. Like,
Yeah.
I'm at some point, I'm not gonna have enough rolls, and they're gonna get me.
Yeah, it's the kind of attack that even if you have your shield up, you're gonna take so many hits, it's gonna break that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
gonna be that kind. Real annoying. Real annoying.
And Liquefy in chat suggests the Stoeber Quinn, deposed, banished, hunted. That's a dope title.
That's pretty good. Feel like I would want to be, I don't know if I've earned this, but I would want to be one of the bosses in a FromSoft game where you fight and you defeat and it's really hard and intimidating, but then like 4 areas later, I'm just like a normal boss. Like I'm just like a normal
Oh,
enemy
you're
that
like
you
an
have to
enemy.
fight.
Yes, like the
Yeah,
Capra
like a
demon
tourist
in Dark
demon or
Souls
something.
1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where I'm like super intimidating and really early in the game, but then you're just like, oh, it's this one again. God, I have to fight another Jenna. Ugh.
Yeah. And you feel like super cool, and the second time, because you're like, oh, I struggled so much with it the first time, and now it's like a regular enemy, and you feel like, yeah.
Yeah. But then you get pegged once by my super fast 5-hit combo, and you're like, actually, this is still annoying.
Actually, this sucks.
Yeah. That was a fun game.
Yeah, I love that. But I guess, yeah, Elden Ring has so many cool horror adjacent stuff. I wouldn't call it a horror game, of course, but it has a lot of cool, horrible, we can say, designs.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, I feel like the game's a little too funny to be just an overt horror game.
Yeah.
Maybe. Did you play Bloodborne?
It's the one FromSoft game I haven't played because I don't have the PlayStation.
Yes. Okay. I would argue that is the most explicitly horror because it's kind of got like a Victorian.
Oh my god! I really need to play it. It's one of those games I've been avoiding. Like I know I've seen a lot of the designs just by cultural osmosis because you keep seeing them, but
yeah, the work that you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and every time I see them, I'm like, oh, I don't want to spoil myself too much because I'll eventually play this. I'll eventually get a discount PlayStation just to just to play Bloodborne. I have my sister. My sister might be coming with the PlayStation specifically in like
fun.
a month or so. So I might play some Bloodborne at least. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I hope that happens for you. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's the one FromSoft game I haven't played. It also looks very very fun gameplay wise because you can like hit people and recover some health, which makes it like really high risk, high reward kind of gameplay. Sounds fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I think before Elden Ring, it was the best FromSoft game, but now Elden Ring exists and that's the best FromSoft game.
I think, and the vibes are, I just love those vibes, those Victorian.
It's really good. Yeah,
vibes,
I think you'll really like it. It vibes, I think, a lot of with your art, like a lot of the stuff that you do in your art. I think you're vibrating on a very similar level as Bloodborne. So, God, okay. Well, I hope you get to play it, and then we can talk about that when you get the chance.
Oh, I really need to. What's the like? Your first horror game memory? What's the one that traumatized you as a kid?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't play a lot of horror games as a child. Growing up, we only had a Game Boy, and there just weren't a lot of horror games on the Game Boy, owing to Nintendo's vibe being not that.
Yeah, the DS had some decent ones. I recall playing some. I mean, they weren't amazing by they were Nintendo DS games, but I do recall having playing some. I can't even tell you the names anymore, but it was this. It had this kind of vibe that a lot of indie games are pursuing right now, where it's this low poly 3D stuff. So I do recall playing a game that had those vibes, had a bit of like Doom vibes. It was nice. The game probably wasn't like super good, but the vibes were cool.
When you're a kid, you don't care. You don't
Yeah,
care as much, I think,
exactly.
as
When
a
you're a
kid.
kid, you see you're like, and Nintendo DS games tend to be so wholesome. So you suddenly see a game full of like guts and gore, and it's like, whoa, how did you get in here?
God, yeah, I'm trying to think about what the early, because I didn't get. I played a lot of games as a youth, and then when I hit high school, it just like was not. I didn't play games anymore. Really, like we didn't have a console. We had a
Mm,
computer, but I never really played a lot of games on it. I mean, a couple, but not really. It was really in college where I circled back
mm,
on it, and so I'm like flashing back. Um, I mean, it might have been. It was definitely a Silent Hill game.
mm.
I think it was Silent Hill 2. Because what happened, okay, no, things I'm piecing things together. Okay, no, it's all coming together. I in when I was in high school, I had a friend
Mm.
who had like was trying to launch and eventually did launch a comic book publishing company.
Ooh.
And so I did in high school, I did some work for him on trade where he gave me an old PS2 and of just a pile of games that he just didn't want anymore. And this was like a while ago, so it was like the PS3 I think had just come out, so it was
Mm.
like it was in the right period where it was like this was not it was worth about $100.
Yeah.
And so he gave me just a pile of games. So I got like a bunch of the Metal Gear games, and I got like the first 3 or 4 Silent Hill games. And I still have all of them in my closet right now,
Oh,
actually.
that's so
I've
cool.
kept them this whole time because I just don't know what to do with them. I don't feel like I can get rid of them. I could probably sell the Silent Hill and Metal Gear discs for quite a lot. But
Are
that
they
seems like a
expensive
lot of
now?
effort.
Are they valuable?
Yeah,
Oh,
hard to
interesting.
get. So it was 100% absolutely. I think it was Silent Hill 2 because I think it was supposed to be backwards compatible, but I
Mm.
could never get Silent Hill 1 to work on it. So it'd be Silent Hill 2, which makes me very lucky.
Yeah, it's so I played it, but much later. Like I think in an emulator, so I never had it physically. But yeah, it's like a classic.
I mean, it's an incredible game. I think it does. I mean, all games suffer with time,
Yeah.
but I think it holds up really well. I mean, just from like a horror standpoint, it's a very
Mm.
scary game. It is a little goofy and it is a little silly, but
Yeah.
it is just still like it's still incredible to play. Like even today, if you've never played a Silent Hill game and you can emulate it or find it in some way, I think it's still 100% worth going back and playing Silent Hill 1 and 2.
Yeah, and there's something with the limitations actually become strengths. Like the fog that was like just a rendering limitation
I love it.
suddenly becomes like a whole element of the horror, right? You don't see very far, so everything that's just a few steps ahead of you is a complete mystery. That's very
It's
fun.
terrifying. It's terrifying, and the way that they pair that with, like, the static noise from your radio when you're getting close to something is just,
Mm.
like that's so much spookier than something just appearing out of the fog. Like, having this warning that something's nearby
Oh
and you
yeah,
can't see it, that juxtaposition is just like, ooh, it's so creepy.
that's
It's so
perfect.
good. Oh my god. So, it was definitely those, and then I think from there I played the first 2 Resident Evil games, and, from there, I think that took me up to, like, I think the release of Alien Isolation. Did you
Mm.
ever play Alien Isolation?
Yeah, it's very good.
I love that. Love that game. Huge fan. I mean, I feel like it's been a while since we had a big AAA horror game in the way
Mm.
that Alien Isolation really was. We've
Was
gotten a
Alien
couple more
Isolation like
recently.
very? I've Was it a high, like a big team, big budget game? I always
I think
felt it was
so.
like medium more than, but
I mean, it
I
might
might
not
be
have been
wrong.
fully AAA, but I'm
Huh.
pretty certain they were a pretty well established. I mean, uh, it was developed by okay, no, it was developed by Creative Assembly, who did like
Mm.
Warhammer
Oh yeah.
game or yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
that's a
pretty
big
big
team. Yeah,
studio.
that's a big team.
It was pretty big at the time, yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's super polished. I think it's
Yeah.
incredible. I think it's an
Yeah, it's a
incredible
beautiful
game.
game. Like it just I don't know. I'm a huge fan of the first Alien movie, so it really
Oh,
captured a lot of that vibe, a lot of that
oh,
uh just futuristic but slightly old, like just trying to predict the future from the 70s. It's so
yeah. I mean,
good.
it's genuinely one of my favorite aesthetics of the like
Yeah.
like picking a moment in time and saying, "Okay, what if we had just never changed that aesthetic?" I mean, because that's what like steampunk is,
Yeah.
right? Is like that's what all of these sort of subculture aesthetics are these days. Is like here's retrofuturism. I just think retrofuturism's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Fallout is the 50s, right? That
Yeah,
vibe. It's
another one of my favorite game franchises,
yeah. And
and I
Alien has
do.
that. It's great. It's like space exploration, but in these it's kind of grimy spaces. They're just so gray and unappealing. I love them.
I mean, yeah, they always have that gray and like burnt orange
Yeah,
color scheme that's just like ugly. It's
exactly.
just ugly, but it's so evocative of that time period that I just like it's just like it's because it was such a brief period of time where people
Hmm.
were like, "Yeah, this is a nice aesthetic. We like this." Before somebody was like, "No, we have to stop." But it's just so funny. I mean, it just yeah, like it just makes me think of that old Game Boy we had with like the horrible gray, two-tone gray
Mm,
with like two-tone purple, gray purple buttons. Just like not a beautiful palette, but
yeah.
somehow so original.
Oh, Liquify saying, yeah, how's 21st century cyberpunk gonna look like
Mm.
in a few years, right? How is our current like
Yeah.
futurism? How we imagine the future right now with our current aesthetic? In a
Mm.
few years, we might see it in a similar light. That's fun to think about.
Yeah, that is fun to think about. I feel like because like, there was a moment I think this has already happened within our lifetime because, like, if you'll remember, like, Portal, the first Portal game has a very
Hmm.
specific, very, very aggressively clean
Yeah.
aesthetic for, like, the front room. So you've got the white, you've got the bright blue, and the bright orange.
Hmm.
And then you get into the grimy back areas. But, like, that color scheme really is there is a moment in time in that period, like the early 2000s, where early mid 2000s, where that is the color scheme we thought the future was gonna have, right? It was gonna
Yeah,
be
that's
pure
true.
white, orange, blue, just really vibrant, almost neon colors. But I think we've already moved past that.
Hmm.
I don't think we've circled back to it in like a throwback way, but I have to imagine we're probably going to in probably
That's
less than
true.
20 years.
That's true.
Probably.
There's a
I mean,
nostalgia
Prey
cycle,
had that
so the
aesthetic.
nostalgia cycle will eventually come for the
Come for us
2000s.
all.
It will come for us all. It's close to getting to the 2000s. We'll soon
Oh,
have
yeah.
nostalgia of the early 2000s aesthetic. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a time.
I think that'll be fun. I mean, you mentioned that I love this, the indie horror game scene has just gone hard PS1,
Yeah,
low poly aesthetic. I love it.
it's so good.
It's so good. It's so chunky. It's so ugly. I love how ugly it is.
Yeah. It's like trying to explain to people why I love brutalism and that kind of just ugly architecture is like you can't describe it any other way. It's like it's ugly, but it's so good.
It's beautiful in its ugliness. Like, I think
Exactly.
there's a French term called, joli laid that I'm probably mispronouncing, but it translates to, like, ugly beautiful, and it's like this
Hmm.
concept of something that is beautiful in its uniqueness. Like,
Yeah,
sometimes we think of things that are unique as ugly, and sometimes we think of things that are ugly as unique. So, like, there's this weird layering of those concepts.
I love that. Yeah.
But, like, sometimes being unique is the thing that makes something beautiful, and so, like the Eiffel Tower. originally thought of as very
Yeah,
ugly
people hated
because
it.
it's a building without its skin. It's just the iron it's just the iron part of the building.
It's building
It's
guts.
perverse. Yeah. It's just the bones.
It's
Where's
just
the
a
rest of the
bone.
building? But then, like, over time, we've learned to appreciate what's beautiful about that as a statement, and I feel the same way about brutalism, where it's just,
Yeah.
like, ugly, but bless it. I love it.
Oh my god. Yeah, I recently visited New York, and I think I had seen that building before, but there's this one building that has no windows. It's this
The
like,
monolith.
yeah, it's in Tribeca, I
Th
think, and
Yeah, it's, like, a little
it's this
south of
huge,
Chelsea.
yeah, it's this huge communication, like telephone building. So I think it has like AT&T and some other, and it's meant to be able to survive like bombings and stuff. So it's meant to, keep communications alive.
Ooh.
But the thing is that it's it has no windows at all. It just has some vents, and it's this huge like monolith with just some vents on top. And I saw it in the distance. I was like, what's going on there? It was very strange. I love it.
It's just, like, it's so contradictory. It's such the opposite of what we think a building should look like or be like.
Mm,
And it's because it has these very specific purposes, but it is just, like, uncanny to
absolutely.
see it. It looks like a monument. It's so good. We had one of those. I'm from the St. Louis area
Hmm.
originally, which is, like, the middle of this big old continent I'm on. And there's a water treatment, I think it's a water treatment plant, but it
Hmm.
was, like, originally built when it was way outside St. Louis city limits, but then St. Louis expanded outward, and so now it's just, like, smack dab in the middle of the city, and it is just, like, this giant, flat, windowless, doorless building. I don't know how people get in and out of it, um, but it is just, like, this weird, like, everybody in St. Louis, like, a lot of people in St. Louis, I shouldn't say everybody, but, like, people know Louis know this building because it's just like, what is this? Why is this here? What is this building? Why isn't there windows in it? It's like, well, it doesn't need them.
Exactly. It's great. It and it through that it becomes the most unique building in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who
I was
mentioned?
reading about
Nika mentioned the control
Yeah.
building,
I
which
think that
has the
is
same thing.
literally the building Control is because I think Control, if I remember correctly, God, Simone did a video on this,
Simone did a
on the
video on this.
brutalism.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, basically, yeah.
Simone is the brutalism fan in the the team, isn't it?
She's the architecture fan, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's done a few videos on that.
Mhm.
Control has some great aesthetics.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Love
mean,
it.
another, like, I think well, let me ask you this. Do you think Control counts as, like, a horror game?
I I wouldn't count it directly as a horror game because the main loop is very action oriented, but
Mhm.
it does have some horror themes to it. It's obviously there's a lot of SCP DNA in it,
Yeah.
uh, and I would love God that someone I do want to bring to this stream if she ever agrees to, because we're mutuals on Twitter, is Anna Megel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the surname right. She's the main writer of Control, and I want to pick her
Ooh.
brain about it.
Oh, that would be cool. God, I would love to watch that. You should do that.
Yeah, I, I'll try. I'll try
Um,
someday.
I mean, yeah, Control is just such an incredible game. I wouldn't necessarily consider it a horror game. I think that's fair. You're just a little too strong, I feel like.
Yeah, it feels
But
like
so good.
within a horror universe, I would say, where a lot of
Yeah.
paranormal stuff, but you're more of a power fantasy, which
Mm,
isn't very horror game like. You
scary.
usually powerless in a horror game, right? The more powerless, the more the creepier. In this case, you're just like you can just take a table and fling it at an enemy. It's so satisfying, but
Yeah. I feel like if if you could play one of those grunts that could get, like, strung up and hung up in the air, like, if you could play somebody who had the chance of that happening to you,
Mm,
I think it would be a very spooky game. Maybe
yeah.
they should make a DLC where you just play an office worker.
Yeah, you're just like the grunt. You're not the director.
Yeah.
You're just the grunt with no weapons, and you gotta
Yeah.
survive a world full of, you know, s- ceiling fans that want to kill you, or
That would be really fun, actually. I would love a game that opens with you, like, punching in and, like, going to your desk and sitting down, and then the events of the first control, like, happen, and you just have to be like, "Oh, oh, no. Oh, god. Uh, I just have to get somewhere safe." And then it's
that
just
would
like
be
a
so
stealth game
fun.
or something.
Yeah,
That'd be
like
fun.
Alien Isolation, but in this
Yeah.
universe would be cool.
Yeah.
See,
That would be cool.
I'm gonna go on a limb and imagine that the devs and the writers would have also loved to do that game, but it's a AAA game, gotta be more action oriented. Those kinds of pressures that come from the top.
Yeah, and then that is in no way a complaint because I think it's a great game.
It's a
No
great
notes.
game, yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, man.
But it's cool. I
As
think it's the best SCP game without being about SCP because they capture the vibes very
yeah.
well, and they just made a very fun game within that universe. You could switch a lot of the you could switch like the I don't recall the name of the organization, but like the fake paranormal FBI they created. You could switch that with SCP Foundation and take a lot of the same things, but
Yeah, I think it's like I'm thinking because, like, the idea of a government agency that is keeping track of supernatural or paranormal objects itself is not unique. There's lots of movies and TV shows that kinda
yeah.
have that's just what they do. But I feel like yeah, Control somehow specifically captures that SCP vibe. It's
Hmm.
really interesting to think about I what it is that makes them tapped into that more so than other media like that. I just this is an interesting question. I'm gonna have to
I
mull
think
over.
they have a lot of the little files you pick up, which you can read, like optional
Mhm.
little
Yeah.
files that tell you the backstory of many things, and they're written in this very SCP way where a lot of things are redacted, and you kind of have to read around the
Yeah.
redactions. I think a lot of it might be
That's
that
yeah, I
bureaucracy
think that's
horror,
fair.
says Nicholas. Yes, bureaucracy
Bureaucracy
horror.
horror, yeah. I also think just, like I think a lot of the shows that yeah, kind of what Nika is saying, like, a lot of those shows want the objects to be very scary and intense,
Hmm.
but, like, most most SCPs are kind of ridiculous,
Yeah, they're
like
just goofy.
yeah, I feel like that's an essential part of SCP where it is just like it's just like a rock that makes you procrastinate or like a vending machine that puts out weird liquid or like it's
Yeah.
all just really silly stuff, and sometimes it's very spooky because it's so silly, but,
Isn't
like,
there one which is a
essentially
can of Coke, but it has lemon flavor or something like that? It has like
yes, unnatural.
it's
Yeah,
very silly, but I like that one. I think my favorite one is a tape of like a
the
videotape of a
basketball
basketball
game?
game. Yes,
Yes,
it's so
I love
good.
that one.
Oh,
That's
if
yeah,
someone in
it's the
chat can
right
remember
balance.
the number of that one, because I'm terrible at remembering those, and can
Yeah.
put it in chat, because just for chat, who for those that don't know the story, it's a taped basketball game that every time you play it, the people in the recording start becoming aware that they're living in this time loop of the recording, and they start trying to escape it, and they end up like at first it's just a game, but slowly it starts like there starts being small differences, and people then start being aware, and they try to escape. It's very good.
It's so
1733. Yeah,
good.
thank you, Liquefy and Sora.
Yeah. I highly, highly recommend that one. It's so good. And it is just like the idea of like a time loop that only activates when you play the tape is
Hmm.
just like Why? That's so cool. I mean, it's such an interesting combination of, like, the sort of retro retro technology thing that we've kind of been talking about, and that, again, I personally
Mm,
love of, like, here's this old object that has become imbued with additional meaning, and the way that that meaning is explored and created is by watching it. That's
mm.
just so cool. So
I love
cool.
it. It also implies there's this grim implication that since you know all that's happening in this recording, and how the loops are affecting the people, you know that there's someone who's been watching this on loop for just hours and hours, just watching the game over and over, and implicitly making all these people inside suffer because
Yeah.
they're not having fun in there. So,
Yeah, and it's
there's that
also
implication there. I love it.
yeah, and the implication that, 1, they're not getting out. Like, it's a videotape. Like, their self-awareness isn't gonna save them. In fact, their self-awareness is what is making it hell,
Yeah.
basically. That's terrible, but also, like, VHSs. I don't know if you had a lot of VHSs growing up and you
Mm.
watched a lot of VHSs
Yeah.
growing up. Watching it destroys it.
Yeah.
And if you watch something enough, you're degrading the material of because it's a physical medium, it's not digital. It's a
Exactly.
physical medium. And so, like, just the act of watching it is degrading the world in which these self-aware people live in.
Hmm.
Ah!
That's so
It's
good.
so
I
cool.
didn't realize that. That's true.
Yeah, every time you watch it, they get I mean, you're it's the only way that they can exist or live because
Mm.
the act of watching it is what creates their self-awareness and their consciousness, but by doing so, you're killing them.
Mm.
It's so just so
It's
good.
so good. It's also that there's the what you were talking about makes me think of VHS glitches. Those how those have been used in horror,
Oof.
and what you were saying of like analog versus digital. We we have. I think it's still a few years when people will start having enough nostalgia for like the early digital era, like early YouTube, that kind of vibe,
Yeah.
that we're gonna start seeing like horror with JPEG artifacts instead of those kinds of glitches. It's gonna be fun. We still have to see that explosion in like early digital horror. I would love to see
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I almost feel like Marble Hornets. Did you watch Marble
Mm,
Hornets
yeah,
YouTube horror?
it did have
Because
some good stuff.
they do a little bit of that, of,
Mm.
like, this video file is corrupt. Inscription.
Inscription
I
did
mean,
have some good stuff there. Yeah.
that's what you're describing. I mean, they're the YouTube aesthetic or genre that they're mocking is relatively modern, but, like,
Mm.
the way that the corruption is, playing upon, like, the digital files is a very retro approach to that.
That's
God, yeah,
true.
you know what? I need to sit down, make a list of all the weird glitches Premiere Pro puts me through, and then make a video, make a horror story that uses all of those.
I love
That would be
that.
very boring.
That
No,
would be.
Premiere Pro glitches are just annoying. I don't think they're scary.
Yeah, I wonder how that would be included in a horror story, but there's still
Mm,
like all those we mentioned, Marble Hornets. They were trying. They used like the digital medium and those kinds of glitches from the time, right? It's they're talking about the current state of technology, but there's no. Every time you see something using nostalgia, it's using uh, Nintendo 64 games. It's that those whatever the people making it played or enjoyed as kids.
mm,
So I think with the current like generation coming in right now, people are still doing analog horror and they're still doing like 80s vibe stuff. And I just want these
yeah.
people to actually do stuff they grew up with, like Minecraft, and
Mm,
lots of kids grew up playing Minecraft nowadays. Like they
yeah.
played it as very very small kids, and there was a lot of horror in Minecraft, and like little not in the game itself. There was some scary stuff, but there were a lot of like myths about
Mm.
creatures like Herobrine or whatever it was called, chasing you in Minecraft. Those kinds of aesthetics.
Yeah, the super blocky. Yeah. I am curious when we'll sort of I don't think we'll transition into that for a while yet. Because I think the people who are making those I mean, you have to have a certain amount of familiarity. Like, something has to be mundane
Mm.
enough for you to want to, like, tweak it with horror. So, like, I think we could get there with a Minecraft horror. Um, but that's tricky. Yeah, because games are so sort of referential to other games
Mm.
in such a weird way, so, like, it makes sense to me that indie horror games are referencing PS1
Yeah.
style stuff, because they wanna reference other horror games.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but it's not impossible that we would hit a point where the thing that people wanna reference is Minecraft. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody is working on that right now.
I would not be surprised. Yeah, and not only Minecraft, but that general era of media and the internet, and that like early, because a lot of nostalgia horror nowadays is very video game adjacent. Even
Mm.
since the early like 2010s creepypastas, like 90% of them were about video games. So there's the games from the mid 2000s.
Hmm.
We have yet to see that nostalgia boom where they come back and people start making all horror about them.
Yeah, as a reference point for the topic and not, like, the aesthetic.
Mm.
Yeah. I'll be curious to because 'cause I'm trying to think about, like, what, late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, what was popular video game-wise. I mean, you know what I would love to see?
It's a World of Warcraft era.
Yeah, that would be
That's
cool.
like
Yeah, or like a spooky elf
2005,
quest.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That would yeah, early MMOs. That would be cool. I was thinking, like, this is not necessarily from the mid-2000s, but I would love a haunted fighting game. I wanna know what that would look like and be
Haunted
like.
fighting game. Oh my
Could you
god.
make something more horrific than just Mortal Kombat, which has some extreme gore?
Yeah. What would that look like? I'm trying to imagine like the creepypasta vibes, but putting that in horror in a fighting game.
That would be
with
tricky.
with the level of writing that most of those creepypastas have, it would be like, oh, the character comes out of the screen and fights you, and actually
Yeah.
pulls out your
Yeah.
spine.
Yeah, or somebody died playing this specific fighting game, and now you have
Oh.
to fight their ghost in the game or
Oh
something
my
like
god,
that.
yes. Like you keep trying to fight and your character selection gets messed up, so you can only pick this character, and it has a different color, so it's like, this is kind of weird, and it starts like that. But then it keeps changing your file name to some other person's name. It's a
So
ghost.
funny.
We're just doing
Yeah.
Bend Round again.
Yeah. I mean, a classic, a great one. Why not?
Oh my god. Have you reread that recently? It's the writing is not good, Jenna.
I don't remember it being particularly good. What I
It's-
remember it being was long.
yeah, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Some of these, because we were younger when we read them and more impressionable, but they had some bad writing.
Oh, yeah, and Lavender Town? I have not gone back and reread Lavender Town, but I
Oh,
probably should.
I was terrified of that as a kid. I recently asked people on Twitter, uh, what were the creepypastas or the urban legends that they fell for, and Lavender Town was one of the biggest ones, and it was one for me. It was the one I used as an example, because I remember, like, I don't know how old I was when I discovered that, but that was like one of my first like creepypastas I read before I realized they were just internet stories. So they had these pretty believable things about police reports about people uh, dying from listening to this one song, and And I was terrified to listening to
Oh,
it.
no. Have you gone back as an adult and listened to it and dispelled this child's
Yeah, it's
fears?
dispelled now. It's a creepy song. It's fun, but as a kid, I was terrified of that. But so many
Yeah,
people
that
fell for it.
classic. Well, I mean, I think that is such an interesting one because, like, there was a lot of Pokemon lore because it was a
Mm.
huge game and everybody played it and was early internet, so everybody could get on and talk about it. But there was a lot of Pokemon lore that was true. Like Missing No, that
Yeah.
that was real. Missing No was real. I remember using like the item glitch that
Mm.
you could do as a specific sequence you could do to duplicate an item in a certain slot. I remember doing that and getting 99 Master Balls and catching everything because you could just do that. So like there there were other things that were true. So the fact that Lavender Town was in that mix, I think is really unique and really cool.
Yeah,
But
there
it
were
does fit it
so many urban legends
so
that,
many.
like, like the ones that were passed around in school. Like there was this truck where you could go at a specific time and Mew would come out. Do you remember that one?
I never heard that one. That's great though.
There was a truck. I don't recall in what city, but it was this like small truck, and for some reason, people thought that if you, I don't know, I think it was if you clicked it at a specific time or something like that, you would get Mew. And
Great.
my first Pokemon game was Ruby Sapphire. I played the older ones later, but my first one was Ruby Sapphire.
Mm.
And there was a specific rock next to um the space center in that game, and it was a rock that was a different color. I don't know if it was white or something. I don't know. If you clicked it, it gave you a small text box saying like, uh, this rock is different, and it was so strange that it obviously had to be something, right? It might be there been a little clue left over from some to point at some event stuff which would happen later. But people would say that if you clicked it 1,000 times, or if you clicked it at a specific time, I don't recall, you would get this special Pokemon. And no, it didn't happen, but there were so many of those.
But what you're describing is exactly what we started talking about at the very beginning of this stream. You're talking about illusory walls messages. The Elden Ring and FromSoft have just looped this sort of like
Oh my
lore
god,
telling into the mechanics of the game.
they put that in the
You
game.
clicking a rock 100 times is the same as somebody clicking a wall 100 times hoping it's gonna be illusory.
Oh my god, that is true. The trolls.
It is just wild to think that that is what those messages are, like, those messages are the exact same as somebody being like, "Yeah, Lavender Town's haunted. This wall's fake. This one's a dog." Like, it's the same thing.
True, they just incorporate it into the game. That's very smart. I
It's
would love to. I
it's
would love to see
great.
that mechanic in more games, because you're just kind of playing with the crowd at some point, and it helps you a lot. You can optionally remove them if you don't want to play online, but it actually does help a lot, because they say like enemy ahead to the right, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get jumped on by an enemy. I'm gonna pull out my shield, and then there's
Yeah.
the misdirections and the weird in jokes. People trying to write things that were not meant, like um, try fingers butthole. They say
Classic.
classic. They put
Classic.
that one
What a
everywhere.
bit.
1,000 times I've
Yeah.
seen it. Or fort and then night.
I love Fortnite. Yes.
Say
What
Fortnite, yeah.
I love reading about because those don't translate, and Japanese players
Oh
have been,
yeah.
like, seeing messages, like, playing in different servers or online, seeing people reference them and being like, "What does this mean? What do butthole, finger butthole, what does this mean?" It's just like it's so funny that it doesn't translate. I
That's
love
so
that.
good. Yeah, and there's a lot of creativity. I saw one that was silly but very funny. There were these waterfalls in some underground area. These waterfalls, and the water was kind of going into some kind of sewers. You couldn't get into it, but there were some grates, and someone put just the word water side and the lion emote, like lying down. So it looked like they were gonna slide into the grating, and it was just meant to say water slide. It's so good.
Fair. That is a good joke. I would upvote that joke
Yeah, I've
for
uploaded that
sure.
one.
Oh, man. I hope this is the sort of thing that I think when I think about what things in gaming now, I hope are being made in nostalgic horror ways in 10 or 20 years. It's stuff like this, like,
Yeah.
if if I were playing I mean, there are areas in Elden Ring where this is kind of true, but, like, if I were playing a game, a spooky game, and I could see the spirits of other people also playing, first of all, pretty creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty creepy in Elden Ring, except that everybody has dumb hats and giant swords. Other than that, it's creepy. But, like, if I were playing a horror game and I got used to all these spirits being around, and then one of those spirits, like, turned and talked to me, I would lose my mind. I would be
Oh, I
terrified.
can imagine, like, imagine in 10 or 15 years time, this game like is still out there, but it's completely empty. So there are no messages anymore, and you keep seeing this one message everywhere you go. It's like some other player is following you through these systems, and you keep seeing their ghost kind of like following. That would be
Oh
fun,
my
right?
god.
That
Let's
would be
do
fun
okay,
horror
no, we're
stories.
doing this right now. We're writing Elden Ring creepypasta for the internet. We're doing it. Hey, have you heard? I heard that there's one spirit. I hear if you go to a specific area in Elden Ring, we can hash out the details later, and, hit hit a specific tree,
Mm.
then you'll start to see the spirit everywhere, and it doesn't look like the other spirits. It's wearing a hat I've never seen in this game, and it's got some sort of weird weapon. And I swear sometimes if you get close to it before it disappears, it'll say your name.
And you know when you see messages from like your own teams, and it's kind of circled with a symbol, and you can see like the team symbol. You'll
Yeah.
start seeing those, but from a team you don't have, like from a
Yes.
slot you don't have put in, and it's really like eerie messages. Like, I don't know,
Yeah, they're
how could you
blue
write an
instead
eerie
of
message
yellow.
with the system, with the Elden Rings like limited system?
Well, that's the thing is, like,
No
the
hope
first
ahead. Those kinds of things.
the first, like, couple messages you see from this weird special symbol are all using words that you can use in this word, but I found this weird
Oh,
5th message that just said, "Abandon all hope," and I don't think those words are in the message system. Isn't that
oh,
weird?
that's so good. And then,
Yes.
you know, when you get like this ghost, you get your game cursed. So at some point you get to a certain boss, and the boss becomes impossible. Like, it just one shots you, and you barely take, like, as high level as you are, you like take one point of life away from with every hit. Um, and the boss is like, you know, has red eyes, like glowing eyes or something like that. Like, it's kind of infected the boss, and it doesn't let you progress through the game. So you're stuck in this
Oh,
purgatory, in
that's
this
a
Elden Ring
nightmare.
purgatory. See,
Oh, that's really
we've
good.
written Elden Ring creepypasta. You can do that with any game.
It's true, it's true. But Elden Ring has that right, like, Pokemon energy, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of I I people could tell me anything is in Elden Ring and I would believe them because the game is giant, the
Hmm.
map's huge, there's so many creatures, and there's so many things in it. Like, I would believe anything that anybody told me about this game because if I didn't see it, I'd be like, "Well, I'll get there eventually."
Yeah, I haven't got there. I just missed it. There are so many things that you can miss in that game.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just the perfect kind of game where you could just, like, put a wiki entry. I know the people who keep track of the Ring wiki are too on top of this for this to pass, but, like, I think you could just put something in there. And there's so much in this game already that's uncanny, like, the fact that there are invaders feels like such a weird creepypasta
Yeah.
thing. In fact, if you took the concept of invaders and applied it to any other game, there's your new creepypasta. I
Yeah,
was
that's a
playing the new
creepypasta.
Pokemon game, and, an NPC showed up, and they were outlined in red, and they tried to kill me. What is this game?
That's so good. You just take regular Elden Ring mechanics and designs and stuff, and just put them in other games, and that's a creepypasta already. I keep
Yeah.
seeing these weird text boxes with messages on the ground, and they start telling me there's secrets in places, and they're not there.
We're referencing things that aren't there. Yes. Oh my
It
god.
just keeps saying Fortnite. what
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 does it
fort should I visit at night? What's happening?
mean? Oh, so good. But I mean, it's like that's the sort of thing like with creepypasta and with video game urban legends is like you need plausible deniability
Hmm.
with a lot of these games. Like the fact that like Ocarina of Time was Ben drowned for Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask.
Ben drowned. I think it was
Can't
Majora's
remember.
Mask.
I
It's
think
a
it was. I
creepier
think you're
game,
right.
so people will go gravitate towards it, right? It's already creepy.
Exactly.
Majora's Mask is a lot of creepy stuff already. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. You've made a terrible mistake.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Yeah, that game was very creepy. You started out dying.
yeah.
Like the
And
first
the
din
Skull
was
Kid,
literally just you dying.
it's an inherently spooky game. So it makes sense that it has creepypasta, but it also like a big game that encourages
Hmm.
exploration. It's just like it I would never be interested or convinced by like a Wolfenstein creepypasta because like
Hmm.
the levels are very linear. There's just like not a lot of exploration. There's not a lot of surprises in Wolfenstein.
Hmm.
Maybe the modern games more so because they're just great. But like, not every game or every franchise is well suited for creepypasta.
True.
And so I think it's interesting to think about what ones are. Elden Ring, as it turns out, is.
Elden
I
Ring
wouldn't
is
have guessed
great for
it.
creepypasta, as we just found.
Yeah, yeah. I'm convinced. I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna put that on the internet.
Oh my
Maybe I'll
god.
start a Twitter thread where I'll be like, "Hey, have you guys found this weird thing in in Elden Ring?"
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You guys should know that it's still a secret, so you gotta keep the secret, okay? If you're listening to this, you're in on the joke right now. But Jenna and I are working on something related, like creepypasta related. We're gonna try to channel a lot of those vibes, aren't we?
Yes, yes, that's the dream, that's the ideal.
Cursed
That's what I love in
games.
horror. I love things that feel like they could be real. Maybe they're not. In fact, you'd know they're not because 'cause they're spooky and unreal and unnatural, but
It could be
that's
real.
could be. What if it is?
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
I'm excited. Yeah, we've been chatting about topics and stuff that we're thinking about, but I don't think we're gonna say anything yet. We haven't
Yeah,
committed
well,
to
not we're
anything
not gonna
quite
we're
yet.
gonna promise yet, because we still have to see. But it's
Let's
gonna be a
turn on
fun
my
collab.
overhead light.
Whoa.
Ah.
Hey, I wanted to mention your Unreal Estates
Oh,
threads. Those
yeah.
were very fun. So Jenna, if you guys haven't seen it, I think I got the link here, so I'll put it in chat. There it is. It's a little fiction story written from a Twitter thread, and you guys can watch it. Can see it through that link there. About I think it's a realtor, right? Who's taking
Yeah.
pictures of houses, and she's taking pictures of this basement that just keeps going, right? It's just I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say more, but definitely keep that tab open and give it a read. Uh, it's very
Yeah,
good.
it's available up for Twitter. You can read the whole thing on Twitter. If you don't wanna mess with Twitter threads like that, you can also actually, let me just pull up my own link. You can just buy it on Gumroad,
Yeah, hold on, I got the link
as a
here.
PDF.
Yep, I'll send the link on chat in chat. There it
Aw,
is.
thank you.
Also, I love that weird door you did for the. It's so good. It breaks my brain.
I also love it so much. I did that in Blender, and it's like I finally feel like my Blender skills, mild that they are justified, because I love it. I love looking at it. I love it so much. So much fun
I assume it's
making
one of
that.
those things where you change if you see it from a different perspective in Blender, it's gonna look all messed up, right?
Yeah, absolutely no. It does not look like anything if you change it.
That's so good. I love it.
It is a lot of fun. I've seen some other, like, optical illusions that people have made in Blender, and I'm
Mm.
always like, "Oh, that's cool. I wanna do more of that." So I had forgotten that. I'm sticking that in my brain. I'm gonna remember to do more stuff like that. So
Yeah,
much
that's
fun.
very good. That's very good.
I'll see if I'll dig up the model and post it on my Twitter if anyone wants to see what it
Oh
looks like
yeah,
broken.
just like a video turned around the model to see what that looks
Yeah.
like.
It's not that one is not in my things library, Mechtel. Also, I have not updated my things library in a minute. I have a
Nicholas
Thingiverse
says Jenna's
where
Kirby with teeth is horror. Have you seen my? Hold on,
Yes!
I did a fan art of that.
It's so good. God,
uh,
somebody liked that on my Twitter the other day, like, within the last 2 weeks or something, and so I got to revisit that. It's just so
oh,
good. It's so ridiculous. I love Kirby, and I love Kirby with teeth.
I made a photo real Kirby because I think
Oh
I
my god.
used how the yeah, there it is. The link is in chat for those who want to see it. The
It's
eyes
so
are, I
good.
think, a seal's. I just took a seal's eye
Oh,
and expanded it. A
that's
human
extra
mouth,
scary.
and
That's
then I
so
think peach fuzz for the rest, if I recall correctly.
good. Oh my god, it's just so good. It's so
Liquify
good.
says, "What a horrible day to have eyes." Uh,
You're welcome. Oh god. Anyway, um, the Unreal Estate story was based on, like, do you ever look at, like, weird Zillow ads?
yes, there's some like when people post like weird houses on Twitter, and you can visit them. You can see like a
Do you like the walkthrough?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just love those. There's one in particular that somebody sent me a while ago where it is actually 2 buildings, if I remember correctly. It's a house, and then in the basement, there is an actual underground tunnel to, like, a business.
Oh,
And so but it doesn't the if you just click through the walkthrough, you're going through this house, it seems normal, you go down into the basement, and it just keeps going, and if you hit a point where you're like, "This can't be the house anymore. This
I
can't
think
be
I've
it."
seen that one where there's like a bunch of you end up in the basement in a kind of storage area with a bunch of like rows of boxes and stuff.
Yes, of, like,
That's the one.
DVDs and,
Yeah.
like it's like some sort of shitty online store where they sell,
Yeah.
like,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We've
head
definitely seen the
candles.
same one.
Yes, I remember that one years ago, and I've never forgotten it. I love it so much. It's just so good.
It's so good. A very suspicious business. Yeah, it was kind of suspicious. It was strange. It
Yeah,
added to the vibe.
yeah, yeah, if it had been all one thing in the storage room, that would have been fine, but the fact that it was just, like, piles of crap was
Yeah,
just, like,
so
terrible.
good. I played. Taggle says in chat, I played games with friends in that house, like find the walking bathtub, find the cat. That's so
I love
good.
that. That's so fun.
Oh, I
That's
love
very
that.
good. Find the bathtub was great entertainment.
Oh, that's so good. Oh,
I mean, the ultimate extension, I guess, of that short story would be to create a Zillow listing with a bunch of photoshopped images. I don't think I
oh
could
my
do something
god.
better than that original one, though.
I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing, right? I'm doing
That
well. My
yeah, that yeah.
so the thread I'm doing for those who haven't seen it, because I've only been doing this kind of secretly on Twitch, not really talking about it on Twitter, because it's gonna be a little fiction story told in first person, so like it happen as if it was happening to me. So if you guys know about this, you're now in on the game again. So you have to pretend it's real when you see it. It's all about me finding this. So I'm at my parents' house, and they have this strange door in the basement. It's always been there. It's not like it just popped up. It
Yeah.
just it's always been there, but nobody's been able to open it. It's just everyone assumes it's just a kind of leftover, and there's just a wall behind it. So everyone kind of forgot about it for years. And then I'm
Mhm.
back at my parents' house. I'm kind of bored and frustrated, so I'm gonna open this door, right? So it starts with me having opened the door and being like, this is weird, because behind it there's a corridor, and it's like, why is there a corridor like connected to my house? Like, this is strange. So I start exploring it, and it's deeper and deeper and deeper. It just keeps going down. It's kind of a descent into hell, and it starts with these like industrial vibes, and then it goes into like weird brutalist kind of meaningless architecture, just like beams going all around. It doesn't make any sense. So it's just gonna get very weird.
So excited to see
At
all
some
the
point,
pics
it's
from this.
what I want to make. I still haven't made these images, but I wanted to circle back into just like, imagine after seeing all this weird abstract stuff, you just come up, like you just happen to find a room where there's a sofa. It's the only thing in that room, right? But you've been so used to that weird abstract thing that suddenly it's even weirder to find a regular thing.
Ah! Have you ever read H.P. Lovecraft's, Rats in the Walls?
I haven't.
Oh, it's a classic. I do recommend it, with the caveat that H.P. Lovecraft is a
Yeah.
horrible person, and so, like, and Rats in the Walls is definitely one of the stories that's, like, I would say middling.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to what you're describing. It's about like a man who inherits this house. It's been a minute since I've read this story. So this is not going to be a wholly accurate summary, but
Hmm.
he inherits this house and he's trying to go to sleep in this, and then he hears the scrabbling in the walls over and over again, and he's like, I cannot figure out what the sound is. And he's searching and searching. He's like, there's rats in the walls. I know it. I have to find them. And then what he eventually uncovers is a door in his basement to hell, a kind of hell, not a literal hell, but
Hmm.
like this massive underground pit where like people are bringing bread for meat, I think it is, and it's just like, and he's like, something that escaped from here has been in the walls of my house, and so like he goes down into it. It's a great story. I do think it is very relevant to what you're
Yeah,
describing. It's
it does seem very
similar
relevant.
vibe.
I'm gonna read
I
that.
do recommend reading it. It's a good
That's in the
one.
walls.
Rats in the Walls.
I love a good metaphorical descent into hell. It's
Oh, me
always good.
too. Me too. Anyway, I feel like, yeah, we're having like an exciting moment for architectural horror,
Yeah,
for lack of
that's
a
what I
better
call it.
word.
It's
I think it's cool. What I would love to see is a movie that really goes for it and really just like goes really, really far out there. I
yeah.
worry that any movie version would be too mundane because you have like the limitations of movies is like
Hmm.
doing a lot of spaces in particular, I think would be tricky.
Yeah, yeah. It would have to be either really creatively done or really big budget,
Yeah.
or you can do something, more limited, like the back rooms where it's just this
Mm.
samey space. You could potentially, if you made a movie, you'd just go to like office spaces for rent and just empty office spaces, and they all have that vibe, right? If they were built in a specific era. Actually, if you
Yeah.
want to find places, if you want to, I used to see this subreddit that was, I think it was True Backrooms. It was, instead of doing like weird
Yeah.
lore and stuff, it was just like posting weird pictures of
Love it.
places. So it was just good pictures of strange areas. And somebody in the comments suggested, like, if you want to see good pictures to use here, just find um, real estate websites that sell office space,
Mhm.
and look at pictures of empty office spaces, and you'll end up finding pictures that feel like those back rooms. I'm sure that the original backrooms picture, which I think is a mystery where it came from, nobody knows, it must come from one of those listings.
Comes from hell.
It comes from the actual backrooms.
Oh man, yeah. I'm curious. I feel like maybe I'll have to sit down and hash out, but like trying to think about what would a 90-minute story, like a full length movie, because like the back rooms, the YouTube shorts are not very long, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, those
So
ones
like,
that, yeah, the recent ones. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean that works. That works for the topic
Yeah,
and
it
for
works
YouTube.
very
But like,
well. And even
how
then,
would you
you
extend that?
have to put a something to make it a little bit exciting, like a creature that runs behind you, and
Yeah,
doing that visually. If you just want to focus on the weird spaces as the horror instead of creatures chasing you, which is it's going to be more visually exciting.
yeah,
It's kind of hard to sell that.
yeah,
Like
because it's a
it's what I'm gonna
vibe.
attempt in my series. I'm specifically not adding any creatures because I want
You
the I could, but I don't want it. I want to add like maybe weird noises, like suspicious
Oh,
noises,
alright.
to add to the creepiness. Like, you just hear like giant machinery like whirring in the
Ooh, I love that.
distance, like very far away. And the fact that there's like active machinery makes you think that like there must be someone using this. It's more the
I'm so excited.
implication of there must be someone, even though all the spaces you come across are completely empty.
Mhm. The
Kind
indicate
of
yeah, the implication that there's somebody, somewhere, somebody here. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, people in the chat are talking about Infinite IKEA. Actually, there was a horror novel that came out a couple years
Oh,
ago that was, horror IKEA, basically.
I love that.
Um, it was okay. It felt like reading the script for a movie, which is I would love to see a movie based off of it, but as far as, like, a novel goes, it was, I think, underwhelming, but a
Yeah.
really, really good concept. I hope they sold it. I hope they're making a movie out of it.
Yeah, that would be good.
Um, yeah, I put a monster in my story because I love monsters.
Yeah, that's no judgment of your story. Your story worked great with the monster.
Uh, Horror Store, yes, Jedi Supper Punk, nailed it. It was called Horror Store, but there were some
Mm.
umlauts there, if I remember correctly. Um, but yeah, I love monsters. I feel like movies don't do monsters anymore. They just do zombies or
Yeah.
serial killers. I miss just like a monster. It's monsters. I love that's the thing I love about like YouTube or like Twitter horror artists like you
Mm.
and all the people doing incredible work is that they're still doing like really monster focused work, like monster
Yeah.
design and monster concepts. And I'm like, that's what I want. That movies are just not giving me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, a recent one I saw that I really love the monster design in is Ritual. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, Ritual does have a good monster.
Yeah, it's a very good monster. It's not like obviously it's not a super high budget movie, so it doesn't have the monster on screen that long, but it's so good.
I
It's
think it's well used, yeah.
yeah, it's a testament to how cool the design was that even though it's not on screen for very long, it stuck with people a lot.
It's
Yeah, like
very
it has
memorable,
arms
yeah.
for antlers. It's very good.
Yeah, the little torso stuck on there. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, yeah. I just wish there were more. I wish creature features would come back, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I
Like,
agree.
there
Just
there've
make a
been a
cool monster
couple.
and make a movie around it.
Yeah, yes. Like the Babadook. I love the Babadook.
Oh, the
What a great
Babadook is so
design.
good.
Very good design.
Yeah, very good design. And again, it's not something that's on screen very long on that movie. It's mostly just the drawings of it uh,
Yeah, but
that
still very
represent him.
memorable, very evocative.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta rewatch the Babadook.
Incredible, incredible movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and LGBT icon as well. I love the Babadook.
Yeah. Yeah. Bless you, the Babadook.
What was the story behind that? I think like Netflix accidentally put it in the LGBT category.
LGBTQ category. Yes, I have a
Uh,
calendar event commemorating it. So once a year, I get a note. I was like, "This was the day Netflix put the Babadook in the LGBTQ
I love that.
category." Love wins. That's so
I
good.
love it.
I love it. I love it. The Babadook is one of ours. Oh, man. Yeah, but that was great. I mean, there's a really good, alligator movie that came out a couple years ago that I'm blanking on. Crawl? I think it was called Crawl,
Didn't see that.
and that was really good. I mean, it's very straightforward. It's just creature fever. There's just big crocodiles. They're gonna eat you. Don't get eaten. It's very pure. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
But
I think
it's
they
just
should
not very
just like
popular.
movie people should just start going to internet horror artists that do cool designs and buy them and start doing movies from them.
And
Like do a bunch
say
of them. Some of them are going to be terrible, and that's fine. Like just go for the 80s approach of just quantity, and there's going to be a lot of just fun and silly movies about a creature,
Yeah.
and there's going to be some standout very good ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what Blumhouse is doing, Blumhouse Productions.
Yeah.
Like, that's their whole approach is that they put out a lot of horror movies and some of them hit
Mm,
and they keep the whole thing afloat. And, like, they put out enough that it's just like you're bound to have some successes. Like, if you put out a horror movie, people will see it, basically. People
yeah.
just horror fans will go and see all of your horror
Yeah, I
movies.
think horror fans
But
are
they
one of the
don't
most
do
dedicated
oh,
uh,
yeah.
audiences
The
out there.
best, they're also the most attractive, they're the funniest, they're the
Exactly.
smartest. But they don't really do monsters at Blumhouse.
Yeah, they don't. That's true.
They just don't that's not their wheelhouse, they're more like ghosts and atmospheric and spooky stuff like that.
Hmm.
Wish they
True. This
would.
is. What do you think about that? That like I guess current generation of big horror movies. Your A24 cult movies, Midsummer, that Hereditary, that vibe. What's your take on them? Because I think they're
Yeah.
pretty divisive among horror fans. They're pretty popular in general, but they're pretty divisive among fans.
Yeah, I liked Hereditary, I loved Hereditary. I think
Hmm.
that's an incredible movie. I thought Midsummer needed better editing. I think there were some choices in Midsummer that I just didn't agree with.
I agree.
Overall, I think people should watch it. Like, I think it's an important movie, and I think
Hmm.
it's good. I was just frustrated because I think it could have been great.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like a
agree.
disappointed parent. I don't know. Unjustified. I'm trying to think of what other A24 horror movies there were. I mean, they do a lot of stuff that's, like,
Creepy,
fantasy,
but or yeah, fantasy. They have
but not, like,
Green
not
Knight.
explicitly horror. Yeah, Green Knight was the one I was thinking of because again, great monster design on the Green
Yeah,
Knight. I think
so
really, really
good.
cool. And, like, also some giants, just, like, some good
Mm,
creatures in that movie, but
yeah.
not really a horror movie. God, I'm just gonna look up A24
There's this
horror.
recent one, The Lamp. I think that was A24.
Was that horror, though? That
It
was the one
wasn't.
about the lamb baby,
It's
right?
it's so cute. I love the lamb baby. That's that's good design. But it
Uh,
has some horror stuff. Like it wasn't your traditional horror, but there's Saint Maud, said Nicholas.
I haven't seen that one. I heard that was good, though.
Saint Maud
I
is
mean,
very good. I
I'm looking
enjoyed
at a
it.
list of the A24 horror movies. I didn't see Tusk, I didn't see Slice, I haven't seen In Fabric, although I've heard it's good. I did see The Monster. Did you see The Monster?
The Monster. I
Yeah,
haven't.
it's so generic, right?
Yeah. It's,
Tragically, The Monster is the part of The Monster that's not a horror story is incredible, but the actual
hmm.
monster design in The Monster is
Oh, you call it you call a movie The Monster, and the monster design is your weakest link. Like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing, like, it is practical, the monster is practical,
mm,
which I think is why they were banking on it, but it is also just a dude in a suit,
yeah.
but not in a fun way, not in, like, a throwback '80s way. Okay, The Hole in the Ground I haven't seen. Life After Beth I saw, and that was okay. That was a very classic kinda horror zombie-ish movie.
Hmm.
Um,
But yeah, what you're saying is true. It's like, where's the fun monster design? It's all zombies
Yeah.
and
I think
killers.
at the end of the day, I mean, this is like A24 is doing like prestige horror. Like
Hmm.
they're the ones who are putting out the horror that people are calling prestige. Oh, they
Yeah,
did. I did not know they did Green Room. I didn't realize that they released Green Room. Green Room slapped. Did you see Green
I
Room?
didn't.
It's really good. It's about a punk band that unknowingly plays at a Nazi bar. Yeah, they just take a gig on the road, and then they get locked in a room because, they played at a Nazi bar and the Nazis get angry at them. So, it's about them, like, fighting their way out. No monsters, just humans are the real monster.
A lot of punch
Um,
Nazis, I assume, which is always good
basically,
fun.
and getting punched by Nazis, which is less fun.
Yeah.
And then, okay, The Witch and The Lighthouse,
Oh, so good.
both incredible.
Yeah.
I think those are both great.
I,
The monster in The Lighthouse, like the mermaid, really, really good.
oh, that yeah, the mermaid is good. It's great. They had
I wish
some
it
really
had
good
just been about the
moments.
mermaid.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
not like an explicit, typical monster, but there are a lot of good designs.
yeah. I think how I feel about A24 the way I feel about A24 horror is that if I'm craving a horror movie, I don't wanna watch an A24 horror because 'cause they're not gonna
Yeah.
give me what I want. They're not gonna give me gore or blood splatter
Mm.
or juicy, gross bullshit. I mean, Hereditary had a pretty gruesome
Yeah.
a gruesome, sequence, but, like, they're not gonna be fun.
Yeah, true. True. It's not the fun kind of horror. Yeah, I agree.
No. I mean, they're gonna it's I know it's gonna be quality and I know it's gonna be spooky, but it's not like yeah, it's not campy. It's not
Mm.
like I don't know.
I
I
agree.
don't know. Um,
Oh god,
so that's how I feel
the
about
witch
A24.
has the goat. That's great.
Oh, yeah, Black Phillip. Love
Black
Black Phillip.
Phillip.
An
That
icon.
it's
An
just a
icon.
goat. It's just a goat, but it's a goat that stands up and does creepy things, and that's enough. That's that's memorable.
I mean, I do like A24, the horror movies. I do like them. I do think they're
Mm.
good, but I think that they are just, like, fundamentally different. They are a different genre of horror,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
so I definitely know some people who have gotten into horror recently or are new to the fandom and have been brought in by, like, A24 horrors, this kind of
Yeah.
prestige horror.
Yeah, I think
But,
it's
like
really
and what
approachable by people who don't really like my partner doesn't really vibe with horror a lot, and she loved The Lighthouse. I watched it with her and she loved it. So it's kind
Nice.
of yeah, it's approachable, I'd say.
Yeah, I think they're more if you had a spectrum of movie to horror.
The horror movie spectrum.
Yeah. Some horror movies are really far down the line towards horror and
Hmm.
really far from movie. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a movie, but, like, kind of barely.
Yeah.
Like, it is really a horror experience. Whereas I feel like A24 is a lot closer to this movie experience. So it's like I do think it's accessible, and I do like that people are getting into horror because of it, but, like, if somebody said, "I'm gonna take you to a horror movie," or "Let's sit down and watch a horror movie," I don't think of those are not the thing that I think of when I think of horror movies. I think of things
Hmm.
that are further down the horror spectrum.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What
I saw did you see
games have managed that campy vibe?
almost none,
Yeah.
unless it's retroactively.
I was trying to think while we were talking about this. I don't know.
Yeah. I I actually have pitched this video to Polygon.
Yeah.
We had this discussion a lot at Polygon because I keep asking people, "Can games be camp? Like, is there a
Huh.
camp game?"
Yeah.
And, I don't know if well, there is an answer now, and it's the Strangers of Paradise, the new Final Fantasy game. That game is for sure camp.
I
That
haven't
game
seen
is
that,
wild. It's everything I've seen out of it, I look at it and I'm like, "I think this is camp. I think this is camp."
I love
Um,
that.
but, like, I don't because camp is such a weird aesthetic or genre where it's
Hmm.
like, if you're trying to be campy, you're not
You're not.
being camp
Yeah.
because camp has to be there's a core of accident in
Mm-hmm.
campiness. And so
Yeah,
I
the
think, like
intentionality ruins it.
exactly, yeah. So I think, like, some games are retroactively campy, like, I would say Resident Evil,
Yeah.
retroactively kinda
Yeah, Resident
campy.
Evil Evil 4, that yeah, it has very very campy vibes.
Yeah, yeah, but, like, at the time, I don't think you would have thought they were campy, and
Yeah,
they weren't
it's just
intending,
more
like,
retroactively
just
campy. There's this
yeah.
recent one, I was trying to find the name. The Quarry is one that a
Okay.
trailer. I saw a trailer the other day. It has some really great talent in actors, and it's trying to be this sort of. And I feel like it. I don't know how intentional it's going to be, but I feel like it might be
Oh,
campy because it's that tries to go for that slasher aesthetic of some
this is from
kids.
the Undead, Until Dawn
Yeah.
studio, I remember this, yeah,
Hmm.
okay.
And it's trying to go for that, kids stuck in a camp and horrible things happen vibe, which
Classic '80s
which
retro.
is a classic. So I don't know how well executed it will be, but I'm excited to see if they manage that vibe.
Yeah, I feel like the Until Dawn is almost is right on the borderline where it's like, it's
Hmm.
very the game parts of it are very earnest, like, they're very earnestly a game, while as the characters and the plots are they're a little over the top.
Yeah.
Those games might be considered camp, yeah.
Yeah. You said Resident Evil Village. I haven't played it. I've heard great things,
Ooh.
but
Oh, it's great, yeah.
it's
As camp? Yeah, I could see Resident Evil Village as camp.
it has some
It's
very
also
over the
hard.
top characters and stuff, right? It's
Yes. Yes, and it's got an edge of silliness that I don't think is supposed to be entirely silly. It's hard to tell, though.
yeah.
Uh,
Let me game in chat says the village is campy on purpose. I'd posit. I'd say.
yeah, but I think it balances it well enough.
Hmm.
'Cause, like, that's the thing about camp, right? Is, like, you're not supposed to be able to do it on purpose.
Hmm.
If you are, you're doing something else. But I think Resident Evil Village is right on the border. I think I'd consider it camp. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great video topic. Like, just you should convince the others at Polygon to do that.
Yeah, I might. I don't know, we're still working on Elden Ring stuff, but,
Mm, fair
I
enough.
mean, it's hard because it's hard to define camp too. Like, there's the Eve Sedgwick piece. Eve Sedgwick? Ooh, let me double check this, I don't wanna 'cause there's the famous, uh,
Yeah, the
foundation definition of camp was
mm,
by an academic. Yeah, okay, it was Eve Sedgwick.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm wrong, it's Susan Sontag. Damn it,
Oh.
Susan. Susan Sontag, Notes on Camp is like
Oh, that
the
yeah, okay.
is where the concept of camp comes from, yes. Yeah, Susan Sontag. It's a great piece, I highly recommend it. Um, but it feels so hard. It feels like we almost need a new word for camp, at least for, like, American media, because there is a really dire earnestness, I think, in a lot of American media.
Hmm.
Just like a really aggressive, "You have to take this serious," which is perfect, fertilizer for camp,
Yeah,
but it's not fun. It's the problem. Camp has to be fun, and most of the
exactly.
grimdark stuff is just not fun.
Mm. Yeah, unless it's like it goes all the way into it goes so deep that it comes out the other side and it becomes funny.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if Taken probably isn't, but, did you see Taken? You familiar with
Yeah.
Taken? Okay. I feel like Taken is not camp, but there are about 80 billion movies made after Taken that are ripoffs of Taken that are probably all camp.
We could call it the Taken likes. If you take
Yeah, yeah.
video game naming conventions.
Wait, there is a term that we have again used at Polygon when we talk about these kind of games. Let me remember what it is. Something like dad revenge stories, because 'cause they're all about old white guys whose
Yeah.
children get kidnapped. And then they have to go murder 100 billion people in order to get their kid back, and it's like, this is just an excuse for violence, which is fine. It's fine. It's
Okay,
just a
then
movie.
let me ask you something. Is John Wick Dad Revenge? It's about a dog, but
I think
it's
one
kind of the same
hundo.
concept.
Absolutely. I think absolutely John Wick would never have happened without Taken being a
Yeah,
success.
yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, it's the same. It's the old guy. Bless Keanu Reeves, but he's an old dude, and it's old guy action. It's hyper violence. It's under the guise of being for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm being a good parent or a good dog owner by being strong. And the way I'm show I'm strong is by being ultra violent. So it's just like this weird, horrible genre that is like, okay.
I think
It does nothing for me.
John Wick, though, it happens in. I think John Wick might be camp. It happens in a
I
fantasy land. That's so over the
Yeah.
top, especially
Yeah.
as you go into the second and third movie. I think that's three.
They're movies. Yeah.
Uh, it goes like deeper and deeper into this. It's not like the spy worlds where all spy movies happen, where everyone's double crossing you. It's like a few steps further than that. So
I think you're right.
it happens in this weird fantasy worlds that I don't
Yeah.
know. It's so strange.
I think John Wick counts as camp. And
I,
I think Keanu Reeves knows it's camp, and I don't think anybody else making the movie knows that it's camp. That's what I think about John Wick.
I love that. He's the only one in the know.
Yeah, yeah. I think the way he plays it, I feel like most of Keanu Reeves's, um, acting, I
Yeah.
think most of his acting career has been borderline camp.
Yeah, I mean, he started with comedies, right? So he
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
from that scene and into suddenly like action movies. So I think he brings a lot of that.
Yeah, my partner and I were watching action movies that are mentioned in, oh, Hot Fuzz.
Mm.
So we made a list of all the action movies mentioned in Hot Fuzz, and we were watching all of them, and one of them is Point Break, which
Mm.
is Keanu Reeves's are you familiar with Point Break?
I am not.
Okay. So we went into it not knowing what this movie was. Point Break is about Keanu Reeves. He's an undercover cop. He's trying to track down a bunch of bank robbers. The bank robbers are surfers.
What? Oh my god.
So he has to go undercover with these surf dudes. And it's my partner and I were just watching this in real time, being like, is is this movie about Keanu Reeves going undercover as a surfer?
That's so
Really
good. Point
like,
Break.
it really is, and, oh my I mean,
Oh.
it's a great movie, I highly recommend it, but it is absolutely camp. It's
Oh my
so
god.
camp.
Yeah.
It's just it's great. Yeah, it's a great movie, but it is just, like, surreal watching it now, 'cause I mean, there was just, like, this weird period in Hollywood where people were into surfing, that was the thing. That's why, like, in the, Escape from LA, there's that weird surfing segment, and Point Break made surfing popular, so everybody surfed.
I love that.
So dumb.
Weird Hollywood eras.
Yeah, very, very hyper specific weird Hollywood eras. Anyway, Point Break is great. I do recommend it.
I love that. Keanu Reeves in undercover as a surfer. That's so strange. Is it? Are we talking
So
like young Keanu Reeves, like coming out of comedy into action, that kind of
yeah, very,
intersection?
yeah,
That's perfect.
I don't know what his arc is, 'cause, like, yeah, he did start doing comedies. I don't know when he transitioned to doing action, but this
Hmm.
is definitely action-y. It's great.
Do you think how aware was Keanu Reeves of Cyberpunk being a disaster? Because if he has that feeling for camp, if we're assuming he's aware of the campiness of things, I think
Mm.
I don't know. I haven't played Cyberpunk. I've seen a lot about it, a lot written and talked about it, but it was such a mess when it came out that I didn't even consider playing it. But
Yeah, I tried playing a little bit of it, but because I played it when it first came out, because that's my job
yeah,
to do things like that. But it really was genuinely like broken. Like it was hard to play.
yeah.
Um, so like it has gotten a lot better. In fact, one of my coworkers, Clayton, has delayed getting into Elden Ring because he went back to Cyberpunk
Oh,
after
really?
the new patch. Yeah, and apparently it's great now. Apparently, like it's
Oh,
legitimately like it's all fixed up. They updated a bunch of the storylines, and it's really like now if you ever want to play it, now's the time to play it. But I just didn't play a lot of it. But I have to assume that like that's part of Keanu's charm, right? Is that
yeah.
he's he's a little bit goofy. He's very self-aware of his charm.
Hmm.
Um, What a delightful man.
Yeah. And we spent like I don't know how many minutes talking about Keanu Reeves, but it's worth
Great.
it. It's justified.
Yeah. When is Keanu gonna be in a horror movie? He was in that Dracula movie, I just remembered.
Yes. Oh my god. Perfect casting.
Yeah,
Again, and
yeah.
that's camp. That's high camp.
Oh, yes, Gary Oldman as Dracula. That movie is great. That movie is great.
God, some of the designs as well.
Yeah. All
The,
of the Dracula designs in
the
that are
Dracula
just like
armor, was that in that
yeah,
movie? Yes.
I think so, yeah.
The blood red Dracula armor that they just pulled out in that movie.
So good.
Full plate
So
armor. That's
God, I would need to rewatch that one.
perfect. It was baby Keanu in Dracula. It's perfect.
Fresh
With
faced.
the accent, it's true. He did an accent.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and The Devil's Advocate, yeah.
Devil's.
Good
Oh,
movie.
true. I forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah, Keanu has
forgot
done some
about that one.
horror.
Yeah. He's done everything. What a
He's done
career.
everything. Constantine. Yeah,
Ugh.
lots of good camp. Fantastic. Yeah, where's the camp in video games? I feel like all the good examples you can pull out is movies or like personalities, but it's weird
I don't
how
know.
games don't. Maybe there's
Uh,
some sort of like limiting factor. Like games are made by big teams
yeah,
and with a lot of oversight. Usually, camp stuff is passion projects,
eccentric
m-
personality driven.
eccentric personalities, and game and not
Yeah.
like you'll have your weird directors sometimes, but it's usually there's so many people working on a game, especially on big games that it's
I
hard
mean,
to have that pull that eccentric thing, those eccentric things be left in the
it's
game.
gotta be in indie games. If there's
It's gotta be
a
in indie
thriving camp
games.
community, it's gotta be in indie games. I bet there are some camp visual novels out there. Uh,
Yes, that's a
actually, there is a really great weird mobile game that got super popular that somebody at Polygon wrote about, um, and it was oh god, I'm not gonna be able to remember what it is, but you played as, like, this, very, like, bougie tan lady, with, like, very blonde hair, if I remember correctly, and she just has giant platform shoes, and you're just trying to, like, get around obstacles. That feels like it's camp. God, I'm never gonna remember what the name of that
oh,
is.
that's so good.
It was fun. It was a fun game.
Oh, people in chat are mentioning Kojima. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I think Kojima's satire.
He's self-aware.
I think yeah, what he's doing is very purposeful satire. I
Yeah.
don't think he's camp. Saints Row Saints Row Saints Row might be camp. Lollipop
Yeah.
Chainsaw might be camp, yeah. It's hard to tell with Kojima because he's also just a weird dude.
Yeah. I think I think there is campiness to him.
Yeah, there's inherent camp. It's right on the I mean, a lot of camp and satire are indistinguishable from each other.
Mhm.
Satire is not explicit enough. It can feel campy,
Hmm.
or it can just feel like the thing that it is. Kojima is
Yeah.
definitely clearly not the thing that he's mocking.
Yeah.
He's way too over the top, but he's right on that borderline. That's
Yeah,
a good
Matt
one, though.
Mikkelsen's presence and scenes are camp. True.
Yes.
And his
Yeah.
weird love relation with Mads is very funny. Every
Yeah.
time he's like
It's so
tweeting
bad.
about him. I
The
think it's one
romance.
one of my favorite tweets is Kojima saying like, "Oh, this game is going to contain so many scenes of Mads doing this, Mads doing that." It's like just him
Yeah,
like
that's the
in
stuff
love
that
with
makes it
it.
camp. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how if you're it doesn't matter if you're writing satire. If you love Mads, the man that you have put in your game that much, that you're right. That is just camp. You guys have convinced me. Kojima's camp.
that part,
Yep,
that
you're
part,
right.
there is some. He lives in the line between
Murky.
satire and sincerity. I think there's a bit of both. Yeah, you think Die Hard Man and
Fucking
like
Die Hard,
those
man.
kinds of things, they feel a bit too purposeful to be uh, fully campy. I don't
That's the
know.
thing is, like, that's what a choice.
Yeah, it's also like English is not his first language, so maybe it does sound cool to him in a way. Like maybe it does sound sincerely cool to call a character Die Hard Man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trick about right? Because like, this is a it's a Ja he's a Japanese developer
Yeah,
making it for a Japanese audience. Die Hard Men might be fine in the Japanese like, and if you're a Japanese person
yeah,
reading
it
that,
might
you might
sound
be like,
cool.
"Yes, that's a cool badass name." But, like, for us, it's like, "No, that's we know that movie." That's not a subtle reference.
Yeah, but yeah, those kinds of references, they feel like a lot like JoJo, where it's very, very
Mm,
campy. And
yeah,
all the characters are named after bands that the author liked.
yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking about, like all the, like, American authors who, like, are in love with Japanese culture and make Japanese name references. I
It must sound
and
the same
as
to them, right?
what I'm thinking, right? And there's just
Yeah.
like, that's cool. It's cool to think about.
It goes both ways, definitely. We're just not aware of one of those sides.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
aware, yeah, for example, whatever. Oh, I'm gonna. So the new Pokemon is set in Spain, right? Not in Spain, in fictional Spain like region.
Yeah.
And there's already like a million memes in Spain about the new Pokemon, and they're like just from the very very few images we've gotten, it's already meme to hell.
Incredible.
They're gonna be. I can't wait to see all the you know because it already happened in the French one, and I have French family. I know French, so it's there were already so many like strange takes and things that only Japanese people going to France would notice, and then turned into this weird fantasy world, of course. So it was very
That's
funny, and I
exciting.
can't wait to see what they do with Spain, because I'm even
Oh,
culturally I'll get all the little references.
man. Are you excited about that? Or are you dreading it? Like, "Oh, Japan, what are you gonna do?"
I'm excited. I'm excited. Even
Okay.
like even if they get it completely wrong, it's gonna be very funny. So the memes are gonna be good either way.
Good, good. That's important. As long as the memes are good.
Like they already named one of the Pokemon Ratito, which means kitty, like Sprigatito or
Oh,
something
that's
like that.
right, yeah, the cactus one.
Yeah, the cat is Ratito, and the fire one is, I think the design is based on a Spanish dish called pimientos del piquillo, which is stuffed red peppers. So it really
A
really
little
looks
red
like the
dragon?
yeah, it's like a red pepper crocodile, and the top of the head is white, so it's like the stuffing. It really looks like
Oh,
pimiento del piquillo. So
that's so
people have
cool.
been saying it's based on that. I can't wait to see if they take that part of the design somewhere. I think there's gonna be some pepper and crocodile aesthetics. It's fun. It's
That's exciting. Oh, man. Okay, God, I'm gonna have to find, like, a Spanish language Pokemon meme account that I can follow for all the insider stuff.
Yeah, I could do whenever more information comes through, I can do a thread or something like detailing all the references that people will miss because
The
I assume
internet
there
would
would be a
love that.
lot.
I would love that. That'd be cool. Man.
They have to
Uh,
some Don Quixote references. I think there were already some windmills in the trailer, so there's definitely gonna be something like that.
That's exciting. I'm excited for that. God, when I was sorry to bring this back to Elden Ring again, but have you been to the windmill area of Elden Ring?
Oh yeah, I've briefly, so I haven't really explored it.
There was a really good message by one of the windmills that was like, "Look out, giant ahead." It's just like, "Hey." It was
That's
really
good.
good.
That's
It was
very
really
good.
good. Yeah,
Is that the
in a
same
good
area where there's like people dancing, doing a little festival?
yeah, it's the
Oh,
midsummer,
it's
the
so
folk
good.
village,
So
folk horror
good.
village. I love it.
Yeah,
That was
I
so
they managed to put folk horror into that game. It's very good. I love
yeah, it's my favorite.
any kind of folk horror.
Me too. I love it. You're gonna have to have me on for another time so we just talk about folk horror.
Oh yes, I've been trying so very slowly, but eventually I want to cover a bunch of folk creatures from my region because
Mm.
my region has very rich folklore. It used to be Celtic, so
Oh.
like Ireland and stuff. They used to have their own Celtic language, which is now disappeared. We don't know anything about it before the Romans came. So then the Romans came, Christianity came, and through those filters, all those earlier traditions kind of stayed there. But for example, you had like Celtic gods and stuff that got
Yeah.
pushed back to being just like woodland creatures. You know,
Huh.
but they're still there, and you can still see stories about these creatures, which clearly, if you see like what they are, what they represent, and their designs and stuff, they clearly come from old Celtic gods, and it's so cool.
That is incredible. That's so cool because that's what, British folk horror is 100% about the we didn't kill off the Celtic gods. Like, that's
Yeah.
all British folk horror is about dealing with Britain's pre-Christian history and, like, the
Hmm.
Celtic energy that comes from it. Like, that's what that entire genre is about. It's what Wicker Man's about, it's what it's all
Hmm.
about. So, the fact that that is also true for this region, that's really cool, that's so cool. You should make, like, Spanish folk horror.
Yes.
That would be so cool.
Yes.
Oh,
I've
man.
been talking with a friend who and with a lot of people. My sister's also writing some stuff and a lot of folk, like folk inspired fantasy, which is very fun.
Cool.
But I would like to write some horror that takes some of those elements. For example, there's this one story. There's two very fun stories from like a long time ago that I do want to do some kind of story based on. First, there's this these pictures from the entrance of an old house. I want to say like early 20th century or late 19th century, like early photography.
Mm.
And there's this a reporter is visiting some, I think an American reporter is visiting some like very deep villages that have very little contact with the world, and he's just like taking pictures, and he sees this house, and this woman has framed pictures of planes in in her main hall of the house, and he asks about that, and they're just some planes that happen to pass through the village, and for them it was something so alien, so weird, that they took pictures of them and framed them. It was
What?
like, for them a plane was this you know, you might have heard about them but you never seen a plane, so it was important enough that they had framed pictures of that one plane that passed next to where they lived once. And I just love that. I'm imagining what would happen in this very like deep, like disconnected village if they saw something like truly unimaginable. Like what if aliens visited this little town and they just assumed they were planes, right? Like it's not. They don't have
Mm.
any frame of reference. So for them, it's this kind of local story that uh, everyone remembers. It's this fun little thing, but they just happen to be the ones to see this
That would
strange.
be cool.
I don't know. I think that's very fun.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, that's like that is akin to like the this architectural horror that you're making where it's like having contact with this technology that's so far out of your reach,
Mm,
it feels monstrous or it
yeah.
feels alien. Because it's just like you don't have context for what that is or what that's supposed to do.
Mm.
It's cool.
I love that. And then
That's
this other story that my sister told me about, and I went to read about it. In the 1850s, there's no pictures of this or anything. It's just we only know about it through the newspapers of the time. In the 1850s, there was this village in kind of in the mountains in my region that was so disconnected that the snow made it impossible to visit for 6 months. So there was
oof.
this priest who just went every so often to the village to do a sermon and then would leave for 6 months. So he comes back for he's like after the snow has disappeared. He goes up to the village, and literally every single person in the village is dead. And nobody knows what happened. It was such a mystery that they razed the whole village to the ground in case there was a strange pathogen or something, so that nobody would go back to the village and get it. The theory, one of the most accepted theories as to what happened, is that they during these festivities, everyone ate this like sweet bread, and for some reason it got contaminated and got poisoned, and everybody ate
Bird
it at
up.
the same time, and they all died
Yeah.
because they weren't dead, and just they died progressively and they got buried and stuff. No, they were like
Oh.
all dead in the streets.
Whoa.
It's super creepy.
That's horrifying. Yeah, that's terrible. God.
And it was like
Man.
20 people, a small village, but it was so hard to contact it that it happened without anybody knowing until this one priest came and saw it.
Man. You
That's
know,
crazy.
that's intense, and it makes me think of a story that I heard about somebody who a couple years ago, they lived, similar to this, they were, like, living up in the mountains, they were isolated from people, they were like a mountain man,
Hmm.
basically, and they came down, to get supplies, to restock, they hadn't done it in months, and they were like, This town's a ghost town.
Hmm.
There's nobody here. Everything's shut down. What is happening?" And somebody had to explain what the COVID pandemic was to them. 'Cause they had been in the mountains for months. They
Oh
didn't
my god.
have any contact.
Yeah.
They didn't realize there was a global pandemic that had shut down this resource that they were counting on in the city.
That's crazy.
Uh, and I'm just like, "Well, yeah, I guess that probably happened a decent amount because there are people who just live and don't have contact with the outside world."
Hmm.
And only have these occasional touchstones. That had to have been pretty weird.
Yeah. Because we're so used to this, to living in a world where communication is so fast. Like you'll find out about anything happening on the other side of the world if it's significant enough instantly, and you don't
Yeah,
realize that there are people who by choice or by necessity they live in some sort of isolation. That's
yeah, it's intense.
intense. It's a
I
great
mean, it probably worked out for that
anything
person.
isolated is great for horror. I've been
Yeah,
thinking
I mean,
about a lot about uh, Arctic exploration and Antarctic exploration because it has so many, like it's the perfect setting basically.
oh, yeah. I
A
mean,
bit
it's
like the
perfectly
terror. Yeah,
isolated,
like the
limited
terror is it.
resources, limited people. Yeah, like
Mm.
the terror. Perfect, yes. Yeah, I love it. So good. Alright, it's been 2 hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Let's call it a night.
Yeah. This is so much fun, though. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming. It's been great to have you, and you're always welcome to come back for a more casual thing if you want. But I'm gonna do this super long stream. Where I'm gonna like this subathon stream. So I'm gonna contact everybody I know so they come in and play games with me because I need to fill the time.
Yeah, those go faster if you have people there for sure.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
everyone go follow Jenna on Twitch if you don't, because Jenna streams. What is it? The Jenna?
The underscore Jenna. Yeah.
Underscore Jenna.
Okay.
There we go. I think that should be the correct
Yay.
link. So yeah, everyone go follow Jenna because she does some Blender streams. She's been learning Blender. It's very fun to see her do some cool creatures and play games sometimes.
I've been streaming the new Inscription mod the last couple days.
Oh yeah, I want to give that a look.
Really fun.
Yeah,
Highly recommended.
I'm definitely gonna stream some of that. But yeah, thank you so much, Jenna. I will say bye to you and then say bye to the stream, okay?
You want me to hang up?
I'll hang up. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me. Bye, chat.
Bye, chat. Okay, hold on. Hey, I'm here. Thank you guys for coming. It's been great fun. Thanks for listening to us ramble for a while. And yeah, the podcast is back. So if you don't know, if it's the first time in this stream, usually every week I do 3 streams, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which are our streams. And then every couple Sundays I do a little stream like this one. So next one, which I'm gonna announce already. Next one I'm quite excited about. We're gonna have Shen Comics. Who I assume everyone knows does some great webcomics and does a lot of horror. So that's going to be not this next Sunday, but the following one. Okay, so that's Sunday let me check, the 10th. So yeah, Shen Comics, that's going to be great. So don't miss that one, and don't miss the rest of the streams. It's going to be fun, and everyone go see Jenna's streams as well. But yeah, folks, thank you so much. I will see you very soon on Monday. Till then, take care.